Hey everybody, it's Gus with Egypt Adventures Travel, and I am here with a live video to take your frequently asked questions about Egypt travel and answer them. Before we jump into today's video, which is talking about the entry requirements for Egypt in the time of COVID-19, I want to talk about my highlights to Egypt trip coming up in this November. I'm taking a group of 10 travelers to Egypt this November 12th through the 21st, and I still have a few spots left open. So I would love for you to check out that trip itinerary down below in the video description and let me know if you're interested in joining us. So today's video is talking all about the updated requirements to enter Egypt in regards to COVID-19 paperwork. And this question was submitted on last week's live video by one of our watchers. She was wondering if we need to get a QR code with our PCR test to enter, if there needs to be a electronic version, and just kind of what the requirements are. And I've also gotten that question several times over the last few months from travelers. So the words exactly from the Egyptian consulate of what is required to enter to Egypt are as follows regarding the PCR test. All travelers who are flying into Egypt must carry with them an actual certificate showing a negative result of PCR test for COVID-19. It should be taken 96 hours max from the departure date, and it should indicate the date and time the sample was taken, stamped from the laboratory, listing the type of sample that was taken, and listing the type of test that was taken. So those are all the official words from the Egyptian consulate. But hi, good morning. Thanks for watching and commenting. But those requirements are not what actually was accepted at the airport in my experience. When I went to Egypt in October of 2020 and March of 2021, I brought a paper copy of a negative COVID PCR test, but this test did not say that a saliva sample or a nasal swab sample was taken. It didn't say what type of sample was taken. It did not mark the time that the sample was taken. It marked the date that it was taken. And it also didn't have an official stamp. It just had a copied signature, literally like a black and white signature of the person who administered the test. And that was it. When I got to the airport both times, and this was the same thing for the client who was traveling with me too, the health officials looked at the date that the sample was taken, making sure that it happened within 72 or 96 hours. But I'm really recommending people get their test 72 hours in advance. So they checked that date. They checked that it said negative. They checked it said COVID-19 PCR. And then after that, they said, welcome to Egypt. And that was it. If you are really, really worried about following those requirements to the letter, I'm sure you can go out and find a lab that's going to be able to do all of those things for you. But in my experience and what I've also been reading from other travelers, those requirements, following them to the letter is not the most important thing, but just making sure you have that paper copy, negative PCR test, has the date the sample was taken. That's what's going to get you in. And that's what's going to, that's what's going to allow you to get to Egypt. Oh, what wonderful. So I see that Emily says they decided to get 2 tests done for their upcoming trip. And that's something that I recommend if people are able to, if you're able to swing it. And if you're somebody who's a little bit more worried about making sure you get your results back in time or making sure they're within the timestamp required, it's really smart to just get 2 tests, one test done 72 hours before you leave the US and another test done 48 hours before you leave. So we've gone over the PCR test requirement for Egypt. That's been their gold standard to get in since June of 2020 when they reopened. But about a month ago, the Egyptian government came out with a statement saying that they would be accepting a QR coded proof of vaccination against COVID-19 instead of a PCR test. So now this has people all confused. Do I just bring my vaccine card? Do I get an app that makes a QR code for my vaccine card? Can I use that instead of a PCR test? And I'm really excited because one of my friends, Egyptologist, his name is Nicholas Brown. He is going to be traveling to Egypt to do some Egyptology work this fall. And he has a QR code that he got from the state of California that makes it official that he was vaccinated. So he's going to try to use that at the airport, and we're going to report back and let you know what his experience was. But as of now, I'm recommending that everybody still plans on getting a PCR test if they are going to Egypt soon, because there just has not been enough anecdotal evidence that getting in with just a QR code of that vaccine proof is legit. I've heard from people on different Facebook groups and different forums that they've gotten in using that QR code, but I've also heard from some people that they were not allowed in with the QR code and they had to actually show a paper copy of their COVID-19 PCR test that luckily they had as a backup. This might evolve over time. We might hear a lot more stories about people getting in using that QR code. And once we hear back from Nicholas, and I'm going to be going to Egypt, of course, in November, and I'm going to try to use just a QR code to link to my vaccine card, and I'll keep you all updated. But as of now, that is officially accepted according to the Egyptian government, but there just has not been a lot of anecdotal evidence of people on the ground actually using QR codes as their only way to show that they're able to enter Egypt. So PCR test, still the gold standard. That's what I would recommend travelers plan on getting. Thanks for joining us for today's live video. I'm excited to see you all again next week. And if anybody has any questions that they have, just like this question today was submitted on last week's video, please drop a comment or send us an email and let us know your questions, because I would love to tackle one of those questions in our video next week. If you like this video, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can also follow us on Instagram. You can like our Facebook page. You can subscribe to our blog on our website to get updates. And all of those links and information are found below in the video description. Until next week, I'm Gus with Egypt Adventures Travel. Thanks for watching.